I'd like to call to order the County Commission meeting for March 15th. Commissioner McElwain, would you lead us in prayer?
I'd like to thank you for this beautiful day we've had today. Thank you for everyone that's able to come out tonight and make the best decisions for Dickson County. Be with those that are not able to come out tonight, sickness. Watch over us as we head back home, be with our loved ones. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If everyone stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Simpkins?
Here.
Mr. Eby?
Here.
Mr. McElwain? Mr. Beatty? Mr. Dawson? Ms. Spicer? Mr. Buckner?
Here.
Mr. Ellis? Mr. Williams? Ms. Hayes? Mr. Reed?
We do have a quorum. First order of business is the approval of the minutes for February 22nd. I have a motion by Commissioner Ellis, second by Commissioner Hayes. Any questions, discussion, or changes on that? Hearing none, all in favor vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next order of business is committee reports. Are there any committees to report? Hearing none, the next order of business is resolutions. The first resolution is a resolution to remove Greer Road from the Dickson County Certified Road List. Mr. Burgess made this presentation in our work session. Are there any questions for Mr. Burgess or on this road? Hearing none, I'll open the floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Simpkins, second by Commissioner McElwain. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The next resolution is to authorize the mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Tennessee City TNCVD Volunteer Fire Department for fire service cooperation. This is what we discussed 2 weeks ago about putting a full-time fireman during daylight hours to work out of Tennessee City to help assist the volunteer fire department there. Open the floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Eby. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Spicer. Any questions or any discussion? Mr. Fisher's here, and I'm here to discuss anything. Yes, Commissioner.
Yeah, I met with them last week, and they're really excited about this, and I think it's really going to work out well for Tennessee City in that area up there. We really appreciate it.
Good, thank you. Any other questions, discussion? This is running, again, to point out to the crowd that may not be aware of this, this is running of what we've been trying to do that we've done in Charlotte, in the West Iron Hill area, and at the Calvin Road office to have full-time firemen available during daylight hours to assist out in the county on volunteer calls. Volunteer fire does a great job for us here, but frankly, we don't have as many members as we've had on that in the past, and the toughest time to have a volunteer show up is during the day when they're at their work and their job. So by doing this, it helps keep the community safer and have a fireman's on the way while the rest are coming from across the county to help. Well, we went in geography and the need as far as calls, and Tennessee City is the next greatest call area that's not covered at this point in time. So we do have a proper motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor vote by stating aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next order of business, any other business for the commissioners to bring forward? Hearing none, the next order of business is election. Mr. Reagan, do you want to hit the highlights on that before we start?
All right, so commissioners, as we talked about at the last meeting that this was presented, in filling the vacancy, this is the process that you voted to adopt. And let me reiterate that many of these requirements that you adopted at the beginning of what I'm about to read are a part of what state law requires. The last part of these rules that you adopted is the process for what happens if you go through multiple rounds of voting and you have to figure out how you narrow it down to ultimately come to a decision. So the rules adopted were that registered voters of the county will be allowed to submit names for consideration. Once the chair of the county commission closes the portion of the meeting in which the public is allowed to submit names, The chair will then accept nominations from county commissioners. Any commissioner may submit more than one nomination, and nominations do not have to be seconded. If a citizen submits a name that is not included in the nominations made by commissioners, then the name submitted by the citizen is not to be considered. If a person nominated is not present, the county commissioner making the nomination must submit a signed statement from the nominee that the nominee is willing to serve. If a signed statement is not presented prior to the initial vote on nominees, then such nominee will not be considered. Each nominee, in order to be considered for the vacancy, must reside within and be a qualified voter of the district in which the vacancy exists. So that would be the 9th district. Once the county commissioners vote to cease all further nominations, the eligible nominees will be given an opportunity to address the county commission for a period of time to be established by the chair based on the number of nominees. After each nominee has been given an opportunity to address the county commission, the commission will then vote to fill the vacancy. And the voting process will be as follows. Each commissioner, when called upon, will state the name of the person that he or she supports to fill the vacancy. If a person nominated receives 6 or more votes on the initial ballot, then that person is selected to fill the vacancy. If no person receives 6 or more votes, then any nominees receiving no votes and the nominee receiving the fewest votes will be eliminated from consideration. If more than one nominee receives the fewest votes, meaning they're tied for the fewest votes, and/or the elimination of the nominees receiving the fewest votes would leave only one remaining nominee who received less than 6 votes, then the nominees receiving the fewest votes will remain eligible for the next round of voting to fill the vacancy. And then the county commission will go through this same voting process again until a nominee receives 6 or more votes.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Reagan? Hearing none, we'll start the process. What we'll do at this point is go through public recommendations for District 9 Commissioner. What I'd ask you to do is have you come to the podium. We need you to do 3 things. One is state your name for the record who you are. Secondly, your address to verify that you are a citizen of Dickson County. And thirdly, the name of the person you want to recommend. That is the only process at that point. We will go forward after the nominations. The candidates will all have a chance to speak for themselves. So at this point in time, if you in the community would like to make a recommendation, please come stand at the podium and do so.
My name is John Ryder. My address is 1890 Nails Creek Road in Burns. And I would like to submit Pete Mateo for your consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else from the community? Anyone else like to make a recommendation? Hearing none, that portion of the election process is over. The next item for business is nominations for District 9 Commissioner. I'd like to recognize Commissioner Hayes.
I've had 5 names submitted, and I'll read these names out now in alphabetical order due to my English background. Tony Adams, Ty Corley, Pete Mateo, Tricia No City, and Mike Peck.
Thank you.
And I place all of those names in nomination.
Consider those names nominated. This process does not require a second. Would any other commissioner like to make a nomination other than these 5? Hearing none, that portion of this closed. The third portion is the candidate speeches for District 9 Commissioner. We have 5 candidates. We're going to allow 2 minutes for each to come forward and speak. I will time you as chair. Are we okay?
I think so.
Okay. We will ask you, the speeches, we're going to take you in alphabetical order as you were just nominated. I'll measure your time, and please keep it at 2 minutes in order for fairness on that, and we'll move it to the next process after that. So first, name is Mr. Tony Adams.
I'm Tony Adams, live in the 9th District. I've lived there for the last 18 years at my current address. Also, I've had the opportunity to sit where you guys are at. I was previously served on the commission for 10 years, so I've been, the voters in the ninth district had selected me and had confidence in me for 10 years, so I asked for your vote. And I appreciate what you do. Like I said, I've been there, and I know it's not a easy decision.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. The next name alphabetically,
Mr. Corley.
Mr. Corlew, Mr. Ty Corlew. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Ty Corlew. Live on Yellow Creek Road. Living in Dickson County all my life, and lived on in the 9th District for going on 20 years now. And just wanted to kind of give back to the community I live in and raising my kids in. And I'd appreciate y'all's consideration and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corlew. The next name,
Mr. McHale.
Mateo.
Mr. Mateo. Mr. Mateo.
Hi, my name is Pete Matteo. Just to give you a little background, I've grown up here in Dickson County my entire life. I actually grew up here in Charlotte, and I graduated from Dickson High School in class of 2000. My wife is from Dickson as well. We've lived in the 9th District for almost 5 years now, over off of Scenic Drive. We are very active within the community. We've helped serve on the soccer board there at Buckner Park, and then dealing with parks over there and helping that program to run well. My wife and I both coach soccer here at Charlotte Middle and White Bluff, so we've gotten to be active not only in the community but with some of your guys' kids as well, and help in that area. Just a little bit of my background. For the last 15 years, I've worked in Metro Nashville for an engineering firm, and I work on a daily basis with municipalities, local and state level. I did get the privilege to work the last 2 years on the 440 project, but one thing I do daily is help manage programs, manage budgets, and help allocate funds to projects and stuff along those lines to make sure that the local city is getting what they're asking for and that tax dollars are being spent properly. I would appreciate your consideration in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mateo. Excuse me. We do, but she is not here tonight, is my understanding. Okay. And I want to make sure I say that, Ms.
I'm not sure I said it right. Tricia Natati?
Natati, or Nasiti, or, and again, we'll break a little decorum here. Can anyone pronounce her name for us that may know?
No City,
Thank you.
and she does have COVID, so she couldn't be here.
Thank you. She has filed the proper agreement that state law requires that says she is willing to serve as she is elected. Who's the next? Mr. Mike Petty.
Good evening. My name's Mike Petty, and I live over on Tanglewood Drive in the 9th District. And I appreciate the opportunity to be up here and maybe have a shot at sitting on this commission. And for what it's worth, in the last 20-plus years on all of the commissions, the boards and stuff I've been blessed to be able to sit on, the one thing I prided myself in mostly is getting the agenda, doing my homework, asking questions if they need to be asked before we get into this body, and then when I come in, I'm sitting down ready to have the meeting and participate and do whatever. So that's one of the strongest beliefs I have. If you're going to be on a commission or a board, you do your homework, you represent your people, and that's what I would fully intend to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Petty. Is there any others to speak? Is that the ones? Okay. At this point in time, the candidates have been heard, and the election process for District 9 Commissioner will be started. It will be handled by our county clerk, who will call the roll. At that point, you will state the name for your candidate. If one candidate does not receive 6 votes, we'll have Mr. Reagan go back and explain the process at that point in time. But before we start the vote, I want to thank all 5 of you. You put your names forward. It's not easy to get out and get involved in public service and do this. So just seeing that you have the interest to do this is heartwarming to know that people want to get involved in your local government. So thank you all for taking the time to do this as we move forward. For those of you who may not be successful or not, we want you involved in county government. So whoever it may be, please get with us and we'll get with y'all and I'd like to have you more and more involved on that. So at this point in time, the election for 9th District Commissioner will begin. Madam Clerk, you will call the roll and the commissioner will state their candidate they're in favor of.
Okay, Mr. Simpkins,
Corlo.
Mr. Eby,
Tony Adams.
Mr. McElwain,
Mike Petty.
Mr. Beatty,
Mike Petty.
Mr. Dawson,
Ty Corley.
Miss Becky Spicer, Mr. Buckner, Mr. Ellis, Mr. Williams, Miss Hayes, Mr. Reed. Mr. Adams. 12, okay. So Mr. Adams has 2 votes.
Two, I'm sorry.
Mr. Corlew has 4. Ms. Tricia Nocity has 1. And Mike Petty has 4. Chairman?
Thank you. Mr. Reagan, if you would remind everyone what the rules are at this point.
Okay, so as we talked about a moment ago, after the first round, any candidate that receives no votes, and then the candidate with the least votes would come off after the first round. And so based on the vote total in the first round, then Mr. Pete Matteo and Ms. Tricia Nocity would be eliminated from the voting. And so on the next round, you would be voting among 3 candidates, which would be Tony Adams, Ty Corlew, and Mike Petty.
Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Okay, Mr.
Ma-
Simpkins, I'm sorry.
Mayor, can we say anything?
Where are we in the rules? Rules indicate we can do that.
I mean, I think they can if they want,
Okay.
because it specifies.
Yes, we'll open the floor for every commissioner to speak at this point they'd like to.
Okay, I'd just like to, I'm recommending Tony Adams. Number one is because he's a good friend of mine. He's been a colleague of mine. And he's actually ran in the district and got elected. And I think that's very important to consider. And also, you know, he does bring some diversity to the commission. So I wish you would just keep that in mind as we go forward with the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Eby. Would any other commissioner like to speak at this point? Any other commissioner like to speak at this point? Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote again. Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mr. Simpkins,
Corlo.
Mr. Eby,
Tony Adams.
Mr. McElwain,
Mike Petty.
Mr. Beatty,
Mike Petty.
Mr. Dawson,
Corley.
Miss Spicer, Mr. Buckner,
Corley.
Mr. Ellis,
Tony Adams.
Mr. Williams, Miss Hayes, Mr. Reed.
If you'd read the vote totals again to see.
I will. Mr. Adams, 2. Mr. Corley, 4. And Mr. Petty, 5.
Thank you. So at this point, no one has attained the 6 votes. So we were left at this point, Mr. Ty Corlew and Mr. Mike Petty. Would anyone else like to speak at this point? Any commissioner? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mr. Simpkins,
Corlo.
Mr. Eby,
Corlo.
Mr. McElwain,
Petty.
Mr. Beatty,
Mike Petty.
Mr. Dawson,
Corley.
Miss Spicer, Mr. Buckner,
Corley.
Mr. Ellis,
Mike Petty.
Mr. Williams, Miss Hayes, Mr. Reed.
Madam Clerk, could you report the vote total?
Yes, sir, there's 5 for Mr. Corlo and 6 for Mr. Petty.
Thank you. Let the record show that the election by county commission elected Mr. Mike Petty. Mr. Petty, if you come forward. You'd raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Mike Petty,
I, Mike Petty,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will perform
that I will perform
with fidelity the duties
with fidelity and duties
of the office to which I've been elected
of the office to which I've been elected
and I'm about to assume.
and I'm about to assume.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to support the constitutions of Tennessee
to support the constitutions of Tennessee
and the United States,
and the United States,
and to faithfully perform
and to faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of County Commissioner
of County Commissioner
representing the 9th Commission District
representing the 9th Commission District
of Dickson County, Tennessee.
of Dickson County, Tennessee.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor Ryan, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I hate these kind of situations where we have to choose. It's like choosing between your children. It's not a good situation, and I hope nobody has any hard feelings because it was difficult for everybody.
Thank you for saying that, Ms. Hayes, and I think that reflects everyone in this. Commissioner Reed?
All the commissioners of the county nominated, Dickson County couldn't lose either way.
I'm in agreement.
I want to tell you that.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Commissioner Ellis?
This is probably the hardest vote I've had to make. I've struggled with this the entire day.
I understand. Well, we appreciate it. The work's not easy, especially when you have people that you respect and you have to decide, and I understand that. I'm also appreciative that the rules don't allow the county mayor to break a tie. So we appreciate the wisdom of the state legislature. The next, before we finish up, well, let me do this first. First, the next order of business, approval of notaries. Madam Clerk.
Carleen Bennett, Austin Fry, Jacqueline Griffin, Cassie Haddocks, Angela Hawkins, Brittany McMahon, Angie Manley, Deborah Meadows, Carrie Monsu, Donna Murphy, Cooper Oliphant, Taylor Osborne, Kyle Schreiber, Whitney Story, Emanuela Wesson.
Open floor for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Beatty, second by Commissioner Spicer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, under announcements, I would like to go on at this point. I think it'd be appropriate to mention Ms. Martha Shepard was here. Is she still with us? Okay. Well, I'm sorry that we weren't able to say something to her on this. I saw her in the audience. We appreciate her and her being here and what her sharing David with us over the last 2.5 years. And at the appropriate time, we will have the family in and honor David for his work for us here and also his work in the legislature and for Dickson County. And we'll do that at an appropriate time. So I did want to mention that. Any announcements from the county commissioners? Any events coming up? Anything like that? Got a boring people. Nothing out of. Okay. I knew you had something.
Second Saturday in April, I guess we're.
There you are.
Okay. Sounds good. We have to order
We
ahead.
haven't met yet, but it's always. the
Just
second
tell him,
Saturday.
just tell him, Becky.
Robert having a barbecue second Saturday.
Well, I think that declares that. There's no discussion. Good.
No, we'll have chicken.
Okay. Happy. I know we had a chicken problem. Commissioner Hayes.
I think we're caught up on birthdays, at least until next month.
I think so. I think, Commissioner Eby had one yesterday, I believe. So I'm glad after that big party and everything, you can make it in today. That's it. And then Commissioner Buckner will be fully prepared for you in 3.5 weeks. Well, I think your momentum will get you there.
I quit having them.
No, you don't. No, you still
I
do.
hope I don't.
That's
I
right.
won't keep having them.
That's exactly right.
Excellent.
I'd rather look at the flowers. than look at
Exactly
the
right.
roses.
Exactly right.
Right. Any other announcements before I make the final one? Hearing none, the next regular session meeting will be on Monday, April 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in the Beaverdale Booty Reed Jr. County Commission Chamber of the Dickson County Administration Building, 4 Court Square, Charlotte, Tennessee. Do I have a motion second adjourn? Thank you.